Hello, Jason. It's Tuesday, April 1st, and first order of business, I propose a change. Specifically, in light of last night's How I Met Your Mother series finale, I propose that we change Judge Dredd's official title from Judge Dredd to Judge Fudge. And then, upon review of his progress later on in the Rad Bromance project, we might be able to promote him to Fudge Supreme. Now, just like with your video yesterday, I want to give the viewers a warning. If you haven't watched much or all of How I Met Your Mother, don't watch this video because I'm going to spoil a lot of stuff. Specifically, I aim to spoil all the things. All the things. And, just like the premise of the show, I think I'll start with the end. So in response to your prompt from yesterday, here's what I thought of the finale. Overall, I thought it was about as good of an ending as there could possibly be to such an epic series. And quite frankly, it did a really good job of reminding me why I loved How I Met Your Mother to begin with. As I said in my TV show recommendation video, it's a series that doesn't shy away from more difficult subjects, even though it is a sitcom. And the tendency of the writers to break out of the genre expectations of a sitcom was extremely apparent in this finale episode. After all, the majority of what we saw wasn't really funny at all, it was just us connecting one last time with the characters. So let's go through what I thought of each character's ending individually. Starting with Marshall and Lily. Now, Marshall and Lily's fate was pretty much decided a few episodes ago when we see them in Italy with their newly born second child. In fact, their fate has pretty much been decided from the end of the second season when they got married. Not that they didn't go on to have their own interesting story arcs, like the death of Marshall's father and Lily getting pregnant with their first child. But I think that the writers included Marshall and Lily as characters in the show so that we would have a prototype for a successful relationship in the show. Someone to compare Ted and his various romantic interests to. And so in concluding their storyline, we're not really left with that many groundbreaking revelations. They pretty much go exactly where we expected them to. They have another child, and Marshall becomes a judge and then a Supreme Court judge. No real huge surprises there. And so their ending really is what we would expect from a sitcom, the sort of wish fulfillment ending where they both get exactly what they always wanted. They have a big, happy family with at least one boy and one girl. Lily gets to experience her dream of living in Europe and being involved in the art industry. And while Marshall doesn't necessarily succeed in his goal to become an environmental lawyer, he does get to become a Supreme Court judge, so that's pretty close to being just as important. But the one place where Marshall and Lily don't get to see complete wish fulfillment is in the fact that their friends disperse. Pretty much every future scene that we see the gang reconnected involves Lily crying and lamenting the fact that they just don't get together and do stuff anymore. And this is epitomized in her insistence that they get together at least for the big things in each other's lives. The big things like Barney's ending, him having a daughter and meeting the actual love of his life. Now, quick side note, I know that a lot of the people that I've seen commenting on the finale have been really upset about the fact that Barney and Robin don't stay together, especially considering the fact that the entire 9th season takes place at Barney and Robin's wedding. But I have to say, from a narrative standpoint, I don't understand how it could have ended any other way. Barney and Robin just aren't right for each other. And that's what I loved so much about Barney's ending. He finally gets to meet someone who is right for him, his daughter. And when he repeats that line that he previously jokingly used to mock people in monogamous relationships, that everything he has and everything he is hers forever, I knew that Barney's ending was pretty much perfect. And for that scene, kudos to Neil Patrick Harris. He really hit me in the heart with that one. But then, what about the other half of that relationship? What about Robin's ending? Now, without going into the actual ending, because I'll talk about that when I talk about Ted's ending, I feel the most sympathy for Robin as a character. She realizes the fact that her and Barney just don't work together, and she pays a really hefty price for this because she's given up the potential for something really good with Ted. And so, as a result, we don't see her a lot with the gang in the future because she just can't stand to be around them anymore. And that's summed up really powerfully in the scene where she's talking to Lily on Halloween. And so instead, she spends the majority of her time just traveling around doing her job as a news anchor for Worldwide News. Avoiding a life that used to be happy but now is just full of memories gone bad. And I think that a lot of the reason that I have sympathy for Robin over any of the other characters is because I can relate to that. As I'm sure you know, there were some pretty good reasons why I couldn't stay in Ottawa anymore. There were too many good things in the past that just couldn't be revived in the future. And so I was left with the situation of either staying in a position that, quite frankly, hurt a lot, or just leaving. And so that's why I'm here, and not there. But then, of course, there's Ted's ending, the ending that we've all really been waiting for. As far as I can tell, the main reason that people are upset about the ending to the series is the fact that the answer to How I Met Your Mother wasn't as important as they thought it would be. People feel cheated by the fact that they waited so long to see how Ted met the mother of his children, but at the end of the day, that's not what the show was about. And I can see why people would say that having Ted end up with Robin is a bit of a cop-out, but I would say I have to disagree, and it's for one reason: the moment. Now, the moment is sort of an odd thing to explain. It's sort of a notion of mine that I've developed over time, especially as I was introduced to mythology in my second year of university. And it involves the way that people live their lives. Now, the majority of the time you see people doing things that they don't particularly want to do in order to achieve a level of comfort that they don't necessarily need. And so the result is a general narrative that says success isn't necessarily doing things worthwhile, it's just doing things in order to sustain. General narrative. But I have an alternate definition of what success is, and it's the moment. Now, a lot of you are probably rolling your eyes and saying, Steve, living in the moment, that's, something that's been around for a long time. And, essentially, a great way to lose everything you have and crash and burn. But wait a second, hear me out. I'm not talking about living in the moment, I'm talking about living for the moment. And as a practical example of what I mean by that, consider the very first episode of How I Met Your Mother. A guy walks into a bar, he hangs out with a couple of his friends, he looks across the room, and he sees a woman. This is the moment that Ted met Robin, the moment that Ted knew that something important was about to happen. And it's as simple as that, really. The entire 9 seasons of How I Met Your Mother can be boiled down to the causes and consequences of that one moment. Not that there weren't other moments as well, there definitely were, but that's essentially the core of How I Met Your Mother. And it's moments like these that I try to live my life every day attempting to find in the real world. It could be moments like meeting and holding my niece for the first time. It could be watching a really good movie, like one of my recent favorites, Jeff Who Lives at Home, which, coincidentally, stars Jason Segel, who you would know better as Marshall Erickson. Or it could be the moment that I saw this crazy girl out of the corner of my eye miming the shadow of a duck, causing a flutter and a sly smirk to spread across my face. A moment without which, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't have a degree right now, I probably never would have moved to Ottawa, and I wouldn't know you, Jason. It's moments like these that can come to define a life, and these are the moments that I feel like life is worth living for. And so to me, that will always be the legacy of How I Met Your Mother, the story of a man who walked into a bar, looked across it, and saw a woman. A single moment that went on to define his life. But beyond that, How I Met Your Mother is a way of judging the moments in our own lives as well. After all, when the series started, my life was vastly different to how it is now. I was a 17-year-old kid living in Italy who wanted to get a degree in chemistry. Aside from my family, I knew literally no one who's still in my life now. I still had 2 grandfathers, both of whom have sadly passed away since. I was a completely different person, and along with How I Met Your Mother, a series of these other extremely important moments in my life have led me to here and now. Whether that's for better or for worse remains to be seen. But at the end of the day, my opinion of the How I Met Your Mother finale is this: I'm thankful that it was a part of my life as I changed from who I was to who I am. And I will always look back on it fondly as a shared experience with others, a series of moments in our lives that grew us into the people that we are, and taught us that there are very few things in life that can't be settled by a good old-fashioned slap bet. And now briefly challenge progress. I'm up to 35.01 miles, and I'm working my way through The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I plan to do reviews of the previous 2 books I finished in my next video, so you can look forward to that. As for Battleship, E3 was a miss, and I attack B6.